Hello readers, I'm Jessie Quinn from Cup of Books, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. I really went into The Book of Lost Things expecting to, if not love this book, at least really like it, because I enjoy fairy tale retellings, I enjoy imaginative looks at older stories, I enjoy books about books, so I really thought this would be the book for me. So was it? Well, let's talk. The Book of Lost Things is a story of David, a little boy who is living in England during World War II. At the beginning of the novel, we learn that David's mother has died and that he is really struggling to deal with the grief. His father ends up remarrying and moving the family out of the city and into the countryside, but David doesn't want to be a part of this family. He does not accept Rose as his stepmom. When a German pilot crashes into the garden in the back of their house, David is transported to another realm where all the stories he grew up reading as a kid with his mother are real, though they've been twisted to the point where he almost doesn't even recognize them. This book is about grieving, this book is about growing up, this book is about other books, and about the power of stories and how stories affect the way we see the world as children. It's about a lot of different things. Certain aspects work better than others. I really think that the beginning of this book and the end of this book, both of which are set in the real world, during World War II, are probably the best parts of this novel. The middle of this novel never really felt like it lived up to its beginning. The middle part of this novel is set up more as a quest with a bunch of side quests as David becomes sidetracked. There are other characters who sort of divert his attention. I definitely think there are people who would have really enjoyed this, but I felt like, okay, I would like to just get there. There's a lot of violence in this book, which in some ways I think really makes sense in the context of the story because David is a little boy during World War II. Sometimes the violence felt like it was just there for shock value, and it wasn't really mirroring the violence of the war. In terms of the characters, I think throughout most of the novel, David really comes off as a very realistic little boy. The way he approaches problems, the way he interacts with both the real world and the fairy tale world are ways I would expect a child to react. Even when he sort of discovers his courage and has these moments of heroism, it still felt like it was a child being heroic and not an adult, if that makes sense. I think my favorite character in this is Roland, who is a knight that David meets and goes on a little side journey with. That being said, the way Roland's sort of side story ends is something that I'm still trying to figure out whether I liked or not. There are quite a few antagonists in this novel, particularly because there are a lot of little side quests, but the main one is the Crooked Man, who I actually wasn't that fond of. I feel like the Crooked Man could have been a really frightening, really disturbing character, but there were too many times where I felt like the novel was trying too hard to convince me that this was a frightening, disturbing character, and thus I was never frightened and never disturbed. And some of the things the Crooked Man did, despite being written as a supposedly really disturbing villain who is for mature audiences only, I felt like I had seen Disney villains do at some point in Disney animated movies. There is one little moment in the narration where the narrator begins to talk about who the Crooked Man is in terms of fairy tales that I thought was really clever. I also sort of had a duh moment when I realized, oh, that's the fairy tale character the Crooked Man is supposed to be. I struggled to rate this on Goodreads mostly because I felt like the moments in the beginning and the ending chapter were just so good and really worked for me that I felt like those alone I wanted to give 4 stars to. But overall, I feel like 3 out of 5 stars better reflects my reading experience with this novel. I expected and wanted a lot more from this one.